Ríordáin, you have 4 minutes.
Thanks very much, and I very much appreciate the Minister being here in person to address this issue. Minister, you'll be well aware of the geographical area which I'm discussing here. It's in your own constituency. I would have been involved in a campaign to get an Educate Together primary school off the into fruition, if you like, to be established in the Drumcondra area. And in fact, one of the very first things you did, actually, as Minister, was to give sanction to that Educate Together primary school in the Dublin 3 Marino Drumcondra area. It was an elongated campaign. It took a long time to get off the ground, but it was a success. However, there are some other very long-established Educate Together schools in the more northern end of the constituency, which you know very well, and in an area of huge build, a huge amount of construction taking place, as a massive amount of population growth, and they're going to need a number of number of facilities, including school facilities. So, in terms of Educate Together schooling, and in line with the previous vision of the previous government, and I hope your own vision as well, Minister, you will be familiar with Educate Together School in Kilbarrack, you'll be familiar with the Educate Together School in Balmain. What we are asking for is that there will be a logical continuum of that ethos of education for children who attend those schools. Now, obviously, there has been a change in the ethos of one second-level school, or, if you like, a metamorphosis into a new type of school in the Clonturk Community College, which has a joint patronage. What we are hoping to achieve in the Dublin 13 area, which covers quite a number of areas, Clongriffin, Balmain, Dunamead, Baldoyle, Sutton, is that a new Educate Together school will be established to facilitate those children who are living in an area which is fast-growing population, so they can have that continuum of ethos of education which every other school child has in that area. No other child in that area is asked to change the ethos of their schooling from primary to second level. No other child. If you go to a Gael school, there is facility for you to attend a second level Gael school. If you go to a Catholic ethos school, you can continue that ethos. Not so for an Educate Together. So while it is appreciated that the Department of Education has made great strides in the last number of years in increasing the number of Educate Together schools that are available for parents who want that ethos and for their children to be educated through, it doesn't make any sense at all for that to stop once the child reaches 6th class. So while the growth in this type of education is greatly appreciated, and while the process, the parents and the committee, some of them who are here in the gallery this afternoon, want to know what process they can go through, how they can work with government and with the department to make this a reality. This is not necessarily a campaign that needs to be fractious or needs to be full of tension or full of friction. What we want to achieve is the finality of having a facility, an educational institution that the children can have in order to continue their education in the ethos chosen, as is the constitutional right, by the parent body. So, Minister, what I'm asking you to outline for us today is where to next for this campaign. These children attend an Educate Together school at primary level, or some don't. They're living in an area that is hugely under development at the moment. What they need is a process to work with you and with your department to ensure they can come to a stage where they can have this new facility open for themselves. And nobody can convince me, Minister, and I'm quite sure you agree with me, that that area will not need extra school places in years to come. So what we want is fair play. There have been great moves across the city and across the country in terms of second level education being opened. Often it is easier to open up a primary school than a second level school. But if you look at areas in North County Dublin where they already have various different models, including community school models, I think of Malahide, for example, still the Educate Together model has been approved by the department because it is seen as having a continuum of education
Can I ask you to finish off now, please?
Which is necessary for those children. So I'd ask respectfully for your positive response, Minister.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'd like to thank Senator Ríordáin for raising this issue. I mean, I fully understand and indeed support the ambition that he sets out. As you know, it's my ambition to substantially increase the diversity of offerings, both at primary and indeed also at secondary level, to reflect the growing preference of parents for more diversity in our education system. And indeed, on this occasion earlier this year, when I did indicate there were 9 new schools to be provided at post-primary level, 8 of the 9 are multi-denominational in their ethos, and indeed 4 of them are Educate Together. So we are very keen to promote diversity. However, I suppose I need to outline to the Senator, perhaps he already knows, but just the way in which decisions are made on when new schools are decided upon. First, it has to be based on an assessment of the population pressure in the area, and we use the geographical information systems, we use the CSO census data, we use ordnance survey, we use social protection numbers in terms of children, and we use all the databases of my own department in order to accurately project the pressure of demand across 314 planning areas that are set out in the department. So in terms of the exact area that Dublin 13 that is concerned is the Donamead Hoath Dublin 13. As of today, there is not sufficient population pressure to indicate that a new school would be warranted, but it is an area where my department is closely monitoring trends. As you rightly say, it is an area of growth. Just to show you an indication of what we are doing is in the adjoining area, the Malahide Portmarnock area, we recently did approve a post-primary school, a 1,000 pupil post-primary school for Educate Together, where the population pressure warrants it. I'm sure the Senator will say, well, why don't we provide more diversity straight away? The difficulty I face, and I'm sure the Senator will appreciate that, with the population bulge that's occurring in the country, I have to provide 20,000 additional places just to keep pace with population trends, and that puts me under very severe pressure that I can only provide funds for additional places where the planning area doesn't have vacancies in other existing schools. So the approach that is then taken, where it is identified that a school is warranted, it is predominantly parental preference. We look at, it is an independent process. Parents are asked to express their preferences as to the patronage of the new school, and it is done on the basis of an assessment of the number of parents indicating preference for different schools. It's done independently of the Minister by an independent group who have been set aside to do that evaluation. So that is the process, and I'm absolutely committed to see greater diversity, and I recognise the value of Educate Together, as indeed the ETBs. And I think you rightly pointed to the interesting innovation in Clonturk, where an ETB school took in Educate Together as a joint partner, and that has, I think, been an interesting approach. So we are very determined to try to pursue the greater diversity, but I have to work within the constraints of the budget planning process that's there. But as a token, as I said, we have made provision very recently for an Educate Together in an adjoining area, and we will be very closely tracking population numbers in the Donamead Hoath Dublin 13 area.
Senator Ríordáin, you have 1 minute.
Thanks, Minister, for your response. I mean, I think, though, as you drive through the area yourself, and you're very familiar with it, it wouldn't take too much to appreciate that the population pressures are just a number of years away, given the incredible intensity of building work and apartment building that's going on in that geographical area. Could you give at least this commitment, Minister, that you could yourself or your department officials will work with the campaigning group who are open to all sorts of different options, including the Clonturk type option, to work in order to facilitate the children to have that continuum of education. I don't think the option of the Malahide Portmarnock is really going to fly when you have such a large geographical area which is in need of this facility. I don't think it'll really be an option, considering that the vast majority of those spaces, I would imagine, would be taken up by people living in that geographical area. So, just with the greatest respect, Minister, and I do appreciate you being here in person. I do appreciate your comprehensive apply. And I appreciate the constraints under which you are operating as Minister, but could you give a commitment that your officials will sit down with the campaigning group and outline how best this campaign can proceed, and what type of information they need, what type of population figures will help the case, and also to give realistic projections as to what the population growth will be, because as you know yourself, Minister, it is only a matter of time until
Thank you, Senator Ríordáin. I think you've made your point.
Campaign for a second level school to facilitate that population numbers.
Minister.
I can assure you that my department, and indeed I do work with all patrons, and indeed we support the Educate Together as a patron to support it in its work, which is certainly recognised. Obviously the department can't favour one particular group who is campaigning for a school, because the process under which a school patron is selected is based on parental preferences. So everyone has to have an equal opportunity of competing when a school is identified as needing. The department doesn't anoint one patron or another patron. It is based on parental preference and the need to promote diversity. So we don't assume one patron versus another. There are 8 schools currently second level across the area. They have a capacity, or they're educating about 3,852 pupils. So there is capacity at present. But as I say, we do work very closely with the local authorities. We have a code of practice with the planning authorities, so we get information about the plans. They look at prospective sites when they're planning areas. So we seek to work very closely with local authorities so that the plans for development of an area are synced with our own. But obviously, at a time of such pressure on places, we do have to see an established need at second level for additional places before we can consider such a process. So, we're very open to any patron. We're encouraging patrons, but at the end of the day, it is parental preference which will decide it when we do identify that a new school is justified. So I can't favour one over another.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you. Next.